Gangsters. If you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon. There's going to be a lot of new content coming out on Patreon. Memberships start at $1. Also, check out my merch. I got some good stuff. And I'm going to be in Las Vegas on January 28th to the 31st. And on January 30th, I'll be at the Mob Museum. And if you're in that area, come check it out. Grab a ticket. You can get it on the Mob Museum's website. And come check out the show. It should be a fun night. So hope to see some people there. And I want to welcome everybody to my live this morning. I have some questions here. I'm going to go through some polls, some stuff we'll talk about. It's amazing. People just keep on asking me about Tommy DeSimone. He was a very, very personal friend of mine. Unfortunately, we all know what happened to him. And somebody wants to know, what did Tommy sound like? Man, it's been a long time since I heard Tommy DeSimone's voice. I can't really tell you what he sounded like. He sounded not like Joe Pesci, I'll tell you that. He had a thick New York accent, Brooklyn accent like me. He sounded normal. He didn't have any kind of high-pitched voice or low or deep voice. He had just a regular voice. Very good-looking guy, tall, handsome. He looked more like a movie star than Joe Pesci, that's for sure. He was a very good dresser. He had a lot of charisma, and he was very dangerous. Here's a question about my father's co-defendant, Tommy Agro. Gambino crime family made man. Tommy old school hard hitter? Yeah, Tommy was old school, but he was a little crazy, as you could not tell by the tapes that are on the internet, the tapes that they actually used at his trial and my father's trial. He liked to threaten people over the phone. He was a violent guy. He had a couple of violent people with him. He was a character. He was a character. He was just a character, a little crazy, heavy smoker. He died of lung cancer. He profited at the end. He didn't want to die in prison, and he profited actually to get out of prison to die. He profited, so he cooperated at the end of his life. It's not really talked about much, but he did profit in the hospital, and then he got out and he passed away not too long after that, I believe by his sister's house. Here's thing. What challenges do you think reformed gangsters face today? And breaking free from the past had 57%. The next closest was dealing with stigma. That's interesting. Here's one from Frank. You wake up a gangster, a hustler, you can't buy it on Amazon, can't read about it in a book. You just have to apply it to other endeavors. Love your show, Anthony. Thanks a lot, Frank. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. Here's one from Pat. Living without what they thought was important. That makes sense. That makes sense. Here's one from Alex. Here's an unpopular one. Controlling their anger, the rage that used to let them thrive in the mob world doesn't fly in the straight world. I don't know, rage. Who has rage and anger? I mean, we don't, that's a question. Anger and rage doesn't apply to any world, actually. So it's just a dysfunction. Anger is a useless emotion. Nothing gets accomplished when you get angry. You make a lot of mistakes when you're angry and you're in rage. Here's one. The hustler mindset has to be difficult to leave behind. Yeah, it does. But you know what? I tell people, use that same hustle for something legitimate. Like I have a friend of mine that is a great car salesman, Andrew Nadu. He wrote a book. He was around Nicky Carrazza. He uses his he uses his skills now to sell cars. I mean, a lot of us took that hustle now and put it into the legitimate world and are successful. I'd say breaking free of the past. I know you guys miss the excitement and fun. I do. I don't know. I can't speak for anybody else. That's what I miss about the life. I miss the excitement. I miss the fun. I miss not waiting online. I miss having financial freedom, even though it put me in prison. So there's things like that I miss. But I can't speak for anybody else. There's one from Bob. Definitely breaking free of the past, which included the high life and the dark lows. Some of the stuff the mob did wasn't nice, to say the least. And I'd say it would stick in your mind for life. That's the guilt part, when you think of the victims and you think of the people you hurt. So, yeah, it sticks. It's not an everyday thought, but it does pop in and out of my mind. Definitely. I don't know what this means. It's not just this here. You owe me 7 G's. I don't mean to be out of order. I don't know anybody, anything. I don't know who this is.
And that's the quotes from they put up, share your favorite quote from Goodfellas. And that was the one from the
Everyone has their favorite lines from Goodfellas, but I'm curious, what's your favorite quote from the movie? I lived that life. I lived that life, and I knew those people. I had relationships with the people, the real people that the actors played. My father was mentioned in the movie. There's no line that I like, but there's a scene that I really think portrays the evil of the mafia. And I don't agree with De Niro anymore. I think he lost his mind. You know what I mean? With the political stuff with Trump, I think he totally went off the rails and is crazy. But as far as him acting in mob movies, he's the best. And the scene that really intrigues me and makes me, portrays the evil of the mob is the scene in the bar with Billy Batts when De Niro takes that cigarette and puts it in his mouth and just has that evil smile on his face and that look in his eye. It's like a quick scene, but that I got goosebumps. But that scene is the mob because he knows what's going to happen to Billy Batts, and he has the cigarette and he just looks at him, and with that evil smile on it, that sinister little grin on his face, that to me, that's the mob right there. That one little scene, he caught all of it. He caught all of it. So someone's telling me it was Murray. I thought it was Billy Batts. Could be Murray, but that's the scene that I think that portrait of his face was the mob, that evilness. Okay, what else we got here? Here's another guy said, make the coffee and go. We're not animals. Don't get wigs that come off wrong time. Murray's wigs don't come off. Now everybody's quoting, Murray, I knew Murray. He was a friend of mine and my brother's. Good guy. He was really more closer with my brother. I said it many times. My brother used to loan the money. He always paid my brother back, thank God. But, we used to see him at the racetrack all the time. He had a store. His wig store was up on Queens Boulevard. It was right up the block from my father-in-law's tuxedo store. So, Murray was a good guy, a legitimate guy that hung around mob guys. And, he paid the price. He had habits. He was a gambler. He always needed money. And, he did things to make money, and it cost him his life, unfortunately. Okay, what else we got? Everybody's just here quoting mob, things from Goodfellas. And then there was Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy. My father never had a brother named Mo Block. That was total bullshit. I don't even know why Henry put that in the movie. I had a, I know why he mentioned Fat Andy, because Fat Andy had a relationship with all of them. And if he was going to mention other wise guys, he would have to throw Fat Andy in the mix. Why they talked about a fiction character named Mo Black, I have no idea. There's another one about Spit Shine and Tommy, the shoes. Here's one from Scarface, say hello to my little friend. That was a great quote. These are all just quotes. I'm not going to go through all these quotes. These are all quotes that people sent in, their favorite lines from gangster movies. Pretty much we all know what they are. It's all quotes. Okay, here's one. I don't know more about Carlo, the Marcello, and his involvement in the events of 11/22/63. You know, that's all rumored. You know that the boss of New Orleans had a hand in the Kennedy killing. I mean, we all know the mob and the CIA. It was all a conspiracy to get Kennedy out of there. You know, Kennedy double-crossed everybody that helped him. The mob helped him through his father. His father was a gangster, a bootlegger. Everybody, you know, my old man used to tell me that he double-crossed everybody that helped him. You know, he put his brother in, Robert, as the attorney general. You know, the Teamsters helped him get elected. Then he went after Hoffa. His brother went after Hoffa. And that's, you know, I believe those are the reasons why he got killed. Here's one I'd be interested in you talking about all the guys Michael Franzese put away with his testimony. Thanks. You know, I don't know about anybody Michael put away. You know, I'm not going to badmouth Michael. You know, Michael believes what he believes. He's a friend of mine. He always helps me. You know, and I don't know who he put away and who he didn't put away. I know he testified at one trial. You know, you would have to ask Michael that question. Anthony, could you do a mob music playlist, like what songs were playing during the meetings, business dealings, and driving, etc.? There was, and you know, if we had sit downs in the bars, there was whatever was playing. People were playing on the jukebox, but you know, we had most of my sit downs were in social clubs and restaurants, and you know, it was restaurant music, Sinatra, you know, old school music. Or if it was in you know, in the club, it would be disco music, you know. So it would I guess the music that was playing would be all would relate to where the sit down was and what type of environment the sit down was. We wouldn't go to a sit down and request the place plays a certain kind of music. You know what I mean? It was wherever you were sitting down, whatever that place played, that's the music that was being played while the sit down took place. Talk about the woman, even if that isn't the top vote getter. You know, there were women that I'm not going to say they were associates. Like, I'm not going to say that but there were women that were mob guys that committed crimes. You know, there were women that were friends of mob guys, that were wives of mob guys, girlfriends of mob guys that committed crimes with them. I mean, like the woman that I committed crimes with, like I worked in, we had a number office, right? We had a number office. And so we used to work out of apartments. This doesn't exist anymore because I don't know who has a number business anymore. Now the lotto took over everything. But years ago, people played numbers in number spots. And we had to have an office, and we used people's apartments for offices. And what we did was we went to their apartment once a day or twice a day. We paid their phone bill, we paid their rent, and we paid their electric bill. So in other words, we took over the utilities of their apartment. We didn't give them money. some we gave money to, but most of them we took over the utilities, the rent, the phone bill, and the electric, because that's what we used. We used the place, we used their phones, and of course we used their electric. So we paid the bills. Now, it was a woman's apartment. We were committing a criminal act in her apartment. If they raided the apartment and she was there, she would have got locked up with us. I had credit card businesses. I had a credit card business, and we had girls that banged out credit cards for us that made money with us. We had a scheme going with one girl back in the day when you could do this. We would go to a Louis Vuitton store, and she would go in and buy a Louis Vuitton bag, like a couple of $1,000 bag with a credit card. And then the next day we'd go to a Louis Vuitton store. She would go with the bag. We would get a gift receipt, and she would go into the Louis Vuitton store, return the bag, and get cash. Back then you could do that. That's another game racket that's gone. So was she associated with the mob? I mean, she was making money with us. She even got arrested with my friend, my partners. She even got arrested with them. So for credit cards. So, that's the involvement of women in the mob, answering phones. That's a conspiracy. I mean, Jimmy Coonan's wife got arrested for that, for answering phones. The woman that did Get Gotti for me, she got arrested for helping her husband. Andrea, she got arrested. So that's the involvement of women in the mob. So some of them do commit crimes and some of them don't. My mother never committed a crime. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, let's see. Here we go. From Julio, good morning. From Jersey, good morning. Have a good day. From George, how is everyone doing this morning? I have some sad news from Ozone Park. The Wheat Pub closed on Sunday. It's gone for good. No more Wheat Pub. I didn't know that. That was around a long, long time, the Wheat Pub. But Ozone Park isn't Ozone Park no more. It's not the same neighborhood, George, that we grew up in. You know what I mean? It's a different neighborhood now. It's 101st Avenue is another, underneath the 101st Avenue sign, they put up a sign that says Bangladesh Way. I mean, that says a lot. I mean, when I lived in Ozone Park, it didn't say, Nabalidan Way or whatever. It said, it's 101st Avenue. Now it says 101st Avenue, and underneath it says Bangladesh Way. So, it makes sense. The Wheat Pub closed. We're gone. When I go back to the neighborhood and I drive to Ozone Park, it's not really my neighborhood anymore. It's completely different. I mean, the neighborhood's gone. There's a couple of still holdouts there that lived there when that we lived there. There's a couple of holdouts, but not many. Here's one from Scott. Who shot Bobby Burriello? That came from the Lucchese family. Who actually pulled the trigger, I have no idea, but that was a sanctioned hit by the commission because of the John Gotti murder of Paul Castellano. That's documented, and all that. Francesco says, good morning to you. Here's one from Emmanuel. Good morning. George, how is everyone doing? That's another one about the Wheat Pub that repeated itself. Here's one from Jay. In the life where respect is paramount, who had a reputation of being the most disrespected? Thanks for all the great content and your dedication to addiction recovery. Who was the most disrespected? I think at times people get disrespected. I mean, we got disrespected. I mean, when someone disrespects mob guys, a lot of times they die. I mean, that's, you don't go around disrespecting people in any walk of life. Disrespecting somebody is disrespecting somebody, and people pay the price for that. Here's a one from Wayne. Was the guy who played Tony T in Carlito's Way a mob guy? I don't know. I don't remember. Could be. I mean, the guys in The Sopranos, a couple of them were not mob guys, but they hung around mob guys. They grew up in those neighborhoods. Like the guy that's in Carlito's Way, he might have grew up in Harlem. They grew up in that. And back then, all the neighborhoods had mob guys and criminals. So they grew up in those neighborhoods. They picked up their traits. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple more. Did I know Nikki LaSaur? No. Here's one about Joey Molina from Clark. I've heard from different sources that Joey Molina isn't bad on drugs and Delta and drugs for years. On the other hand, I heard that he's clean. What did you hear in the street? I don't believe Joey Molina. I don't know. I don't think that's true that he's, every time I was in his company, he drank. I never saw him do any cocaine. I never saw him smoke any weed. When I was with him in Philadelphia and we went out for dinner, he had, he drank when we went to they had a strip club on the river, and we went to the strip club and they were all drinking. I was clean at the time, so I wasn't drinking or anything. Everybody else was drinking. We were smoking cigars and they were drinking. I never saw him do any drugs. I saw him drink, I never heard of him doing any drugs. I mean, I probably would have heard about that because I knew a lot of people that were with him. I lived with a guy, Gary, that was my cellmate in Schuylkill when I first got there before Kevin Kelly, and he would have told me that Joey was using drugs. I never heard that until now. So, I know he drank. I don't believe he used cocaine or anything like that, but I might be wrong. But I never saw it. This is from Irish Green. Woman, booze, and money are the biggest downfall of the mob guys. Bad choices, I suppose. That's probably the downfall of a lot of people. Woman, booze, and money. Not only the mob. I think on Wall Street and every kind of business, them three things are probably the downfall of a lot of people. Okay, this is the last one. Let's see what it says. Trying to read it now, but I'm having a little trouble here. It's, what the heck is going on? Oh, yeah. This says from Angel. Yes, I used to run that back in the day with a few places. Yeah, that's a girl that, saying that she, committed crimes with mob guys. I got a couple more that just came in. Let's see if I can get to them. From Jason, Andy. My name's Anthony, not Andy, but that's okay. Do you know anyone who used to do the garbage pickup payments on 14th Avenue in Bensonhurst back in the day? My mother had a business there. That was Jimmy Brown's neighborhood. Jimmy Brown was major private sanitation, big money, millions. That was probably one of his pickups. If I had to bet money on it, I would say that was one of Jimmy Brown's pickups. Emmanuel, for some, Victoria Gotti is the most intelligent and beautiful woman in this gene. I mean, I know them. I went to her and Carmine's wedding. She's definitely intelligent. I mean, the girl wrote books. She had a TV show. She earned a lot of money. She was a very attractive woman. I could agree with that. Definitely. I could agree with that. This is from Matthew. God bless your new work. Thank you for the history lesson, what you did, what your dad. Thank you. I appreciate that. Here's one from Wayne. Since I got clean, I'm always reliving shit in my head from my past all the time. You ever have problems with shit like that? Forgiving yourself, past shit is brutal. That's why I believe in a 12-step program. If you're in recovery, get into a 12-step program. And that's how you deal with all that, and that's the way to deal with all that stuff, forgiving yourself, forgiving other people, the 8th and 9th step, you make a list of all the people you'd harmed and became willing to make amends to them all, including yourself. So, that's the best way to, when you get in recovery and you get clean, just staying clean is not enough, because then you have to deal with all the stuff you're talking about, the guilt, the shame, the wasted time, and how I dealt with that is through the 12 steps. So that would be it. Okay, well, that's about it for the questions. Before I go, I just want to say that I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff on Patreon, less stuff on YouTube. I'm having some issues with YouTube as far as being monetized with certain things. My memberships on Patreon start at $1. So for $1, come check out what I have on there. If you like it, up the membership, that's up to you. I'm just going to share. So I have some. So back in the day, I'm sure everybody on here knows, back in the day, we didn't have cell phones. We had beepers, and we had rolls of quarters in our car, and we had phones in our homes, and we had phone books. These are 2 phone books that I have from the 80s and the 90s, up until I went to prison in 96. I gave them to the government when I started cooperating, because they used it as evidence to show that I knew mob guys. And you could see it says Government Exhibit 31, Government Exhibit 421 on it. And the government returned them to me. And in them are names of people, that I'm going to be talking about on my podcast that are going to be on Patreon only. So, like, here's a club number. It says Fat Ronnie Cigars office. That's the bookmaking office numbers. That's how we did that. Here's another Albie. He was a big guy, a Shylock, a bookmaker on Jamaica Avenue, a famous bar. Here's Aldo's old number, the pizzeria where Ronnie One-Arm hung out on 101st Avenue. There's his old number. Fat Barbie, the club in the Bronx Club. Bumpy, another guy that was with the Lucchese family. Joe Kelly, he was a guy from the Bronx that was he was one of my big firework customers. I'm going to be talking about that. Here's another number. So this says Joe Philly, and that is Joey Molina, my friend that denies he's my friend. And that's going to be a big show on Patreon. We're in the process now of getting the tapes, because when I was calling this 215 number from my home in Howard Beach, my phone unfortunately was tapped for a month. And I have some tapes of him calling me, which I'm going to be putting on my Patreon only. And, it just goes on and on and on. All the names of people, gangsters and people that I knew. Tommy Carbone, he's a big wise guy now. Tommy, people that know the mob. Here's a lawyer. Then there's mob lawyer phone numbers. We're going to be talking about mob lawyers. So it's going to be a lot. There's a lot of names in here of mob guys and mob associates, and just a lot of stuff in here, a lot of names, and we're going to do a lot of Patreon shows about these people, but not about my relationship with them. I'm not going to do he said, she said, or what other people said about them, or what's written about them. I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about my relationships with them, what I did with them, how I dealt with them, the dealings my family had with them. It's not going to be a history lesson that I read on Google like other podcasts out there do. I'm going to speak about the people that are in these phone books and my relationship with them. So that's coming in the future. I'll let you know as we do them, when they're going to pop on Patreon. So I hope you check it out. And that's about it. So I hope everybody enjoyed themselves. And don't forget, if you like my content, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell. please check out my Patreon because I'm going to be going on there. It's going to be a lot more content on there. Memberships only start at $1. So for $1, you go on, check out a video. If you like it, up your membership. And, we get to talk, Q&As, and all that good stuff. And check out my store. I got some merch. I got some hats. I got some mugs. I got some shirts. So check it out.